The final leg of my journey takes me to southeastern Idaho. I'll first stop in Utah to visit the shores of Bear Lake before crossing into Idaho, where I'll visit the Minnetonka Cave, Terrace Tabernacle, Soda Springs, and Old Fort Hall before ending my journey on the Snake River. We've just arrived back in Utah. We're on the shores of Bear Lake, and basically it's a freshwater lake that spans an area of just a little over 100 square miles, and it spans the border between Utah and Idaho, and it's actually the second largest natural freshwater lake in Utah. And there's actually a state park over there on the southern end of the lake, Rendezvous Beach, but we found this little rest area where you can access the lake for free. So we're gonna spend a bit of time here, then continue on to Idaho and Minnetonka Cave. And if you look closely, every once in a while you can actually see some fish popping up from the surface here. It looks like they're spawning, and it also looks like the lake level is a little low. But yeah, I've heard about this lake, but I never actually come here, and it's supposed to be famous for its really blue water. Yeah, much nicer than I expected. Yeah, you can see that the shoreline in the bottom here appears to be extremely shallow here, so you probably have to walk and walk well out into the lake before it will actually be deep enough to swim.
Or carrying anything you've had in a different cave or underground mine? No is the correct answer. Good job. Okay, we're trying to protect our bats from a fungus. To further protect you, you're also going to walk through this foot wash station. It's about a 1/4 inch deep of water. Bad news though, your shoes are going to be slightly cleaner, so just watch out for that. My name is Jared. I'm going to be your tour guide on this fabulous afternoon. But trust me, by the end of the tour, you're going to understand just how much damage your hands can do. So please keep your arms and legs inside the ride at all times. All right, so back in 1906 or 1907, a man by the name of Ed Arnell was working at a lumber camp just down below us near what is now Porcupine Campground. He was up in this area one day looking for some dinner. And up on top of this cliff above our heads, he shot a grouse, which is just a small wild chicken. When that grouse died, it landed down here about where we're standing. When Ed came down to get it, he could feel all that cold air coming out from the side of the mountain. Well, Ed was no dummy. He realized, hey, mountains don't normally breathe. So he started looking around, trying to figure out why the mountain was breathing on him. I've always thought he should have read the big old sign. Right there. And what he found that day was an opening that back then was about the size of a garbage can lid. So that's how the cave was discovered. The next day, Ed brought 7 other men from that lumber camp, including 3 of his brothers, and those 8 men were the first people to ever enter Minnetonka Cave back in July of 1906 or 1907. Now, if you look at the cave now, you're saying, dude, a little bit bigger than a garbage can lid. What happened? So in 1939, there was a group called the WPA, one of those put people to work agencies created during the Great Depression, that was hired to come into the cave and prepare for guided tours. They made the opening larger. They also installed the stairs and handrails. But as soon as you get to the very first stair, you're back inside Natural Cave.
What does Minnetonka mean?
That's something I cannot tell you.
Oh, I'm guessing it's some Native American word.
It is a Native American word, and I will tell you all about it a little bit later on.
Okay.
We have all 7 of Snow White's dwarfs hanging out. So I'm going to point them out, see if you guys can guess what we call them. Tides are hollow. That's how they grow. So the carbonic acid has dissolved the calcium carbonate above your head, comes into the open air, mixed with oxygen, the carbon dioxide escapes, it's now just water. So the minerals cling to the rock, and that's where you get a solid stalagmite, and that's how they grow, is just that same process. It is the ballroom. It is the largest room in the cave. It's about 300 feet long from end to end. From the high point on the ceiling to the low point on the floor, it's about 90 feet high. You asked me about Minnetonka earlier. Now's the time. So, if you look at this rock right here, you can see that it's covered with bones. Anybody that hasn't been in the cave before, cheater. Want to guess what kind of bones these have to be? Fish. We don't get that very often, but you're getting wrong. Thanks for playing. Anyway, these are the bones of a porcupine.
Really?
I could easily tell the following story without these bones on the rock, but hey, bones make it fun. Back in 1913, Ed Arnell's older brother Oscar, one of the guys that was with him that first day, happened to come into the cave with a group of young men. And these young men ran into 2 porcupine that day. One was alive, one was dead. The way I see the story probably happening, they were both alive and one escaped. But anyway, they named the cave Porcupine Cave. And for at least a generation, that name stuck in the local community. Another guy came into the cave in the 1930s, and he had a little bit more of an education, and he started calling the cave Minnetonka. That name also stuck with certain members of the community for about a generation. So when they decided to open the cave up for guided tours in 1947, the government had to choose a name. Now, you were right. It is a Native American word. It means falling water. So water dripping from the ceiling today, that's where the cave gets its name. We call those cave kisses. We do try to keep our tours family friendly, though. No more than 10. That's a cave makeout. You guys are way Part of the Temple Ridge Fault System. It's a 90-mile-long fault line that runs from Temple Fork to Logan Canyon and ends in Grace, Idaho. And that is why we have a cave. We did some pretty big crack in the earth's surface to get enough water down here to dissolve away this much rock. Now, some of you are thinking, what if there's an earthquake right now? Who cares? We won't even know about it until we get out of the cave and somebody says, hey, did you feel the earthquake today? And I can say that from personal experience. I've experienced a 3.5 inside the cave. It was 7.6 miles from here. It did not shake the cave at all. Point out the wedding decorations before we head on back. Right over here on the wall, you're going to see flow stones, which is when the water runs over the rock and leaves the minerals behind. Our bride. But she's taking her own sweet time coming down the aisle. It could be at least another 40,000 years. The best explanation of why we have Cape Poplar and Cape Coral is evaporation. What's going on right now is my laser is refracting off the different facets into a very beautiful diamond.
Now these stalagmites and stalactites grow at a rate of about 1 cubic inch per every 1,000 years. And only the ones that have water dripping on them will continue to grow. And this green color you see on them is actually algae, and most people think that the algae grows in the caves naturally, but it's actually the result of artificial light.
1,200 feet. We're 1,800 feet in. There's 1,200 feet back that way. Look up on that landing before you turn and head on down. As you go on down, though, please use the handrail. Slickest part of this. See, it looks a lot different from the rest of the rocks in the cave. That stain, that polish, it's oil from your hands. We've never done anything to this rock except for allow people to touch it.
No.
And that's why it looks like this, and that's why we ask you not to touch the rest of the rocks in the cave. We're just trying to protect that natural beauty. In January or February every year, you count bats to make sure that bats aren't being affected by the tours. And by the way, they're not, that population is going up, not down. They promised us it's 40 degrees.
We've approached the end of our tour. It was very entertaining and informative, but the cave itself was actually one of the least spectacular I've seen in terms of formations. We're in the small town of Paris, and right here we have a beautiful Mormon tabernacle. A lot of people associate Mormonism with Utah, but in fact this region is home to the oldest Mormon community in the West outside of Utah. And the tabernacle, which was completed in 1888, sits up to 1,500 people and was designed by a son of Brigham Young. Huh, this is quite an unusual sight, and the last thing I expected to find in the middle of rural Idaho. We're in the town of Soda Springs, believed to be the second oldest settlement in Idaho. Its claim to fame is that it is home to the world's only captive geyser. It was accidentally discovered on November 30th, 1937, when a drill penetrated about 315 feet below the surface of the earth in an attempt to find hot water to feed a swimming pool. Carbon dioxide mixing with water in an underground chamber created pressure, which then burst to the surface in the form of a 100-foot 72-degree geyser, bringing with it large amounts of mineral-rich calcium carbonate, which then collected on the surface, creating these colorful geologic formations known as travertine terraces. Although artificial geysers, officially known as erupting geothermal wells, aren't rare, this is the only known man-made geyser in the world to be controlled by an artificial timer being set to go off precisely every hour, putting this rural Idaho town on the map. The region's thermal springs were once utilized by pioneers, and its bottled water took first place at both the Chicago and Paris World Fair. I'm covered in spray. I'm definitely gonna get sulfur by the time this is done. I don't even know if this is visible with all the stains on my camera. Thanks to the geyser is only about 70-something degrees temperature. Wow, what an incredible sight. How often do you get to see this? I thought this would be crowded if this was Yellowstone or somewhere woodsy, but there's almost no one here. Amazing that this exists right in the middle of the city. Pictures and videos do not do this place justice. This is one place you really do have to see in person. My mom's gonna kill me. I think I just destroyed my $600 phone and possibly my $500 camera. My body's burning though, that's not a good sign. I know, it burns, but...
Prison guy's name is Johnny too. He wanted to get away too. Soon made a plan, bust the jail, disguised carriers of the mail. Open the door about 2 a.m. Say you know what to do, man. Stick to the plan. Ran down the hall, around the first wall.
that building we see over there is the old Fort Hall replica. It's a replica of a fur trading post that was originally built in 1834. Unable to compete with the much larger and well-connected Hudson Bay Company, the original owner sold them the fort in 1837. By the 1850s, it had become an important station for pioneers as it sat at the confluence of the three major emigrant trails, making it the most important trading post in the Snake River Valley. But the outbreak of the Civil War led to a decline in immigrant traffic and the fort succumbed to floodwaters. A replacement fort was built near the site of the original but was abandoned just a year later. A replica of the original Fort Hall was built in the 1960s about 30 miles from its original location. Fajnie jeszcze zwierzaka mam. Yeah, looks like a morbid.
And Johnny said it's a good place to hide. Stocked with a bottle of Mexican rum, a bag of heroin, and a rusty gun. Billy took the bottle and he turned it up, and Johnny took the heroin and shot it up. First thing to go was Billy's mind. Soon it would be Johnny's time, so they went outside to clear their heads. Shoot some cans, finish the rum. Shooting star looked just like a car. Sound of a cow did from afar. Hey, hey, Johnny, I think that Billy is drunk on rum.
5 days, 5 states, and over 1,600 miles. I went on this road trip to discover the Wild West of today, and the region has certainly lived up to its name. It was an adventure full of surprises, and it definitely goes down as one of my all-time favorite American road trips.
Here on the wrong old shotgun.